"That's your gaff hoodie, right? And that's you, who were you shooting at?" With those words, Cornelius Smith, one of the accused in Young Dolph's murder, didn't just crack under pressure, he practically confessed, right there in court. But he didn't stop with himself. In a shocking twist, he threw serious shade at none other than Yo Gotti and his brother, possibly dragging them directly into the legal spotlight. If his testimony sticks, this could be the smoking gun that links Yo Gotti to the tragic assassination of a Memphis icon. Let's unpack this. The Memphis street war that escalated into a deadly tragedy. Whispers and theories have long swirled around Yo Gotti and his older brother, Anthony Big Juke Mims, with many suspecting they played a role in Young Dolph's death. These rumors have rocked hip-hop culture and lit a fire under law enforcement. Eager to trace the roots of this alleged plot, Young Dolph Redl name Adolph Thornton Jr. was gunned down on November 17, 2021, while grabbing cookies for his mom at Makeda's Homemade Butter Cookies, a well-loved Memphis shop. In an instant, bullets ended the life of one of the city's most successful independent rap moguls. Almost immediately, the streets started pointing toward familiar enemies. Yo Gotti and his CMG collective music group crew. To grasp how we got here, rewind to 2014. Dolph was on the rise, carving out his place in Memphis's rap scene with gritty storytelling and a hustler's drive. Meanwhile, Yo Gotti had already cemented himself as a power player, running CMG and scouting for talent. Gotti saw Dolph's potential and made a move to sign him. On paper, it sounded like a smart business play, but behind the scenes, it sparked a powder keg. In a 2014 VLAD TV interview, Dolph recounted his first ever sit-down with Gotti, and it wasn't pretty. Gotti allegedly started bashing his own artists Zilla and Starlito in an attempt to lure Dolph to CMG. Dolph wasn't impressed. "It was my first time meeting dude," he recalled. "He's dissing his own people just to get me on board. That's a red flag. I lost respect immediately." That moment sealed it for Dolph. He later doubled down in a 2017 interview on The Breakfast Club, revealing that even Gotti's own manager warned him to steer clear of CMG. It was all the validation Dolph needed to forge his own path. And turning down that might have been the move that lit the fuse. Turning down that record deal wasn't just a business decision for Young Dolph, it was a bold declaration of independence. In an industry where riding with a major label was the go-to move, Dolph decided to carve his own lane. He launched his own label, Paper Route Empire, from the ground up, going head-to-head with Yo Gotti's CMG Empire right in their shared Memphis backyard. That power move didn't sit well with Gotti, who had long considered himself the kingpin of the city's rap scene. It marked the true beginning of a rivalry that would only grow more heated with time. Things stayed behind closed doors for a while until February 2016, when Dolph took the first public jab. A pointed tweet appeared. "Burr went from being my #1 fan and wanting to sign me to being my biggest hater, #facts. Double quotes. That tweet lit the match. What had been quiet tension now erupted into open beef. Then came Dolph's debut album, King of Memphis, a title Gotti had long claimed as his own. The message was crystal clear. Dolph wasn't backing down. He was coming for the crown. The streets took notice. While Gotti kept things relatively low-key, his prudish black youngster stepped into the spotlight, launching a full-on offensive in March 2016. Youngster dropped a fiery diss track titled Shake Some, directly questioning Dolph's street cred and Memphis roots. One line stood out. "How the F***, you the king of Memphis, you ain't from the city, from Chicago." Not content with just talking, Youngsta pulled up to Dolph's South Memphis neighborhood with a crew of armed men and filmed a bold, taunting video. Tension was boiling over, and fast. A year later, things turned truly dangerous. In February 2017, Dolph clapped back with the brutal diss track Play Wit Yo Bitch, taking personal shots at Gotti and claiming he had been with Gotti's baby mama. He didn't stop there. Dolph nicknamed Gotti Ho Gotti and used a screenshot of missed calls from Ho Gotti baby mama as the cover art. The disrespect was loud and deliberate. The song went gold, solidifying Dolph's power as a self-made giant in the game. But with success came violence. Just weeks after the track dropped, Dolph's Bulletproof SUV was riddled with over 100 shots while he was in Charlotte for the CIA basketball tournament. Miraculously, Dolph emerged completely unharmed. The armor plating in his ride saved his life. That same night, unfazed, he hit the stage as planned, performing Play Wit Yo Bitch like nothing had happened. It was a message to the world. He wasn't rattled. The Charlotte ambush only deepened the controversy. Black Youngsta was soon linked to the shooting when the getaway van turned out to be rented in his name. He turned himself in on May 16, 2017, but insisted he was innocent, claiming the van had been stolen. 2 years later, in 2019, the charges were dropped, but the damage was done. Whether guilty or not, the shooting brought more heat to Gotti's CMG camp. Still, Dolph stayed on his grind. Like a true hustler, he flipped the entire near-death experience into fuel for his next project, a second album drop that proved once again he couldn't be stopped. In April 2017, Young Dolph dropped Bulletproof, an album that debuted at No. 36 on the Billboard chart and lead with a chilling statement, 100 shots. That track wasn't just a song title. It was a direct nod to the attempt on his life in Charlotte, where most would lay low. Dolph turned the ambush into fuel, spinning bullets into bars and branding himself as an unshakable force in the independent rap game. But the danger didn't end there. Just months later, in September 2017, the violence caught up with Dolph again, this time in Los Angeles. Outside the Loews Hollywood Hotel, he was shot 3 times, left fighting for his life in critical condition. In a twist straight out of a crime thriller, reports surfaced that Yo Gotti had been staying at the same hotel, though police later dismissed Gotti as a suspect. One of his known Memphis affiliates, Corey McClendon, was arrested and booked on attempted murder charges. He was eventually released, but the timing and connections sent the rumor mill into overdrive. As public tension grew, both Dolph and Gotti were asked about the beef in interviews, and both downplayed it. In an October 2017 appearance on The Breakfast Club, Gotti insisted there was no real animosity between them. "I'm the biggest rapper from Memphis," he said. "I help a lot of Memphis rappers. I really don't know what the issue is." He even pulled out a text from 2012 to prove he had mentored Dolph early on, inviting him to shows and offering guidance. Still, Gotti didn't hold back from suggesting that Dolph was leveraging the so-called beef to boost his visibility. "I think it's marketing," he said, implying that the animosity may have been exaggerated for clout. Whether it was real or strategic, one thing was clear: neither man was backing down. And the Cold War between the two camps kept simmering, sometimes in lyrics, sometimes on the streets. Then came November 17, 2021, the day the Memphis hip-hop scene was forever shaken. Young Dolph was fatally shot while picking up cookies for his mother at Makeda's Homemade Butter Cookies in Memphis, a beloved local spot. The brazen daylight murder didn't just end a life. It deepened a cultural wound. In the immediate aftermath, Memphis police took no chances. Fearing retaliatory violence, they temporarily shut down Yo Gotti's restaurant, Prive, even though rumors of it being shot at were false. The move showed how volatile things had become. This wasn't just a street beef. It was seen as a potential trigger for citywide unrest. The investigation got moving fast. By January 2022, police had charged 2 key suspects, Justin Johnson, known as Straight Drop, and Cornelius Smith, both hit with first-degree murder charges. Then came a third name, Hernandez Gobon, identified as the alleged mastermind who orchestrated the hit. As the legal process crawled forward, deeper questions began to stir. Was this truly about personal vendettas? Or was there something bigger, behind the scenes, a calculated, long-standing feud that had spiraled into a targeted assassination? For nearly 3 years, the case continued to evolve, inching toward justice, while the streets, forums, and fans kept digging for the truth. Online theories swirled, speculations flew, but solid evidence was still scarce. One thing was certain, though: the ripple effects of Dolph's murder weren't just felt in Memphis, they rocked the entire music world. It wasn't until September 2024, nearly 3 years after Young Dolph's murder, that the case truly blew wide open. When Justin Johnson finally went on trial, the courtroom turned into a stage for one of the most explosive revelations Memphis hip-hop had ever seen. The trial kicked off on September 23 with Shelby County Deputy District Attorney Paul Hagerman delivering opening statements that stunned the room. In a bold claim, Hagerman alleged that Anthony Big Juke Mims, Yo Gotti's older brother and a central figure in CMG, had placed a $100,000 bounty on Young Dolph's head. For the first time, a direct line was being drawn from Dolph's murder to the inner circle of CMG, pulling the long-rumored beef out of the streets and into the courtroom. The prosecution's case gained serious momentum thanks to Cornelius Smith, Johnson's co-defendant, who had already pleaded guilty and agreed to testify. Smith's account was detailed and damning. He claimed that both he and Johnson were offered $40,000 each for the hit, with the promise of being signed to CMG after the job was done, a move that transformed the killing into a music industry power play. According to Smith, the murder wasn't a spur-of-the-moment act, it was carefully orchestrated. He alleged that Hernandez Govan, already charged as the mastermind, acted as the middleman, connecting Big Juke to the gunman. The setup, he said, included a meeting in Atlanta between Johnson and Big Juke, a meeting that could serve as key evidence in proving a larger conspiracy involving CMG leadership. But the most jaw-dropping moment came when Smith described what happened after the shooting. He claimed that he and Johnson FaceTimed Big Juke to confirm the job was done, with Johnson spelling out Dolph in sign language to avoid creating a digital paper trail. This alleged move to use coded communication reinforced the idea that this was a calculated execution, not a random street hit. And the story didn't end there. Smith dropped more bombshells, alleging that Big Juke had also put bounties on other artists affiliated with Dolph's Paper Route empire, including Key Glock, Snoop Bands, Big Moochie Grape, and Paper Route Woo, though these claims haven't yet been proven in court. Leaked documents reported by outlets like Hot New Hip Hop hinted at a broader campaign to dismantle Dolph's entire team. One detail in particular added even more fuel to the fire. Smith claimed he only received $800 of the promised $40,000, and that someone from CMG had paid for his legal defense after his arrest. If true, that would suggest an effort to keep him quiet, potentially pointing to ongoing involvement by CMG insiders even after the bullets had stopped flying. And just as these revelations were rattling the courtroom and the culture alike, the timing of everything took another sharp turn. Big Juke. On January 13, 2024, just months before these courtroom revelations made headlines, tragedy struck again, this time hitting close to the CMG camp. Anthony Big Juke Mims, the brother of Yo Gotti and a key figure in the unfolding drama, was gunned down outside a Memphis restaurant. His murder remains unsolved, sparking rumors of retaliation tied to Young Dolph's death. But as of now, there's no confirmed link between the two shootings. Juke's death complicated everything. With him gone, he couldn't defend himself against the bombshell allegations made in court, nor could he be held accountable if those claims proved true. Still, his name remained front and center throughout the trial, a ghostly presence looming over every testimony. Yo Gotti, meanwhile, wasn't named as a defendant in the case. No charges have been brought against him, but his deep ties to both CMG and Big Juke, as both CEO and brother, kept the spotlight trained on him. The idea that CMG money may have been used to support the accused shooters, including covering legal costs, only intensified suspicions about Gotti's potential awareness or involvement. Yet legally, there's still no concrete proof connecting him to the decision-making that led to Dolph's murder. The courtroom delivered its first major verdict on September 26, 2024. Justin Johnson was convicted on multiple counts: first-degree murder, conspiracy, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The sentence was severe: life in prison, plus 35 additional years. His lawyer, Luke Evans, argued that Johnson had been manipulated and filed for a retrial, citing weak evidence. But those motions failed to gain traction. Cornelius Smith, having flipped and testified against Johnson, is still moving through the court system. His sentencing was postponed until November 2024. As for Hernandez Govan, the man accused of coordinating the entire hit, he maintains his innocence and is slated to go to trial in July 2025. That proceeding could be pivotal, potentially exposing more of Big Juke's alleged role, and even casting new light on CMG's inner workings. To date, Yo Gotti remains untouched by the law. Allegations against him remain exactly that, allegations. They're rooted in circumstantial evidence, his leadership of CMG, his blood connection to Big Juke, and whispers from witness testimony. No one has testified that Gotti directly ordered or facilitated the hit. Still, one question refuses to fade. Will Yo Gotti be indicted? As of May 2025, that question is fueling endless speculation across media platforms, hip-hop circles, and legal discussions alike. The answer lies in what the next phases of the legal process reveal, particularly at Govan's upcoming trial. If new testimony or evidence emerges linking CMG's upper ranks more explicitly to the murder plot, the pressure on prosecutors to take further action will only grow. For now, the case sits at a crossroads. The court has found a shooter guilty. A co-conspirator has cooperated. The alleged mastermind is awaiting trial. But the full extent of the conspiracy, and whether it reaches the top of the CMG ladder, remains an open chapter in the ongoing saga of Young Dolph's tragic end. ChatGPT said: Yet surfaced. With Big Juke now out of the picture, investigators are facing a major challenge in trying to piece together the full scope of what really happened behind Young Dolph's murder and whether anyone higher up in the CMG structure, including Yo Gotti himself, was truly involved. As of June 2025, no financial records or internal CMG communications have been released to the public that prove a $100,000 bounty, or that CMG paid for the shooter's legal defense. This lack of hard evidence makes it extremely difficult for prosecutors to tie Yo Gotti to any criminal wrongdoing. His connection to the case remains circumstantial. He's Big Juke's brother and the boss of the label. Yes, but that alone doesn't prove he had knowledge of or gave the green light for any hit. The key opportunity for prosecutors may come in July 2025, when Hernandez Govin, the alleged middleman between Big Juke and the shooters, stands trial. If Govin flips and decides to cooperate in exchange for a reduced sentence, he could potentially reveal new information, including whether Yo Gotti played a role or was even aware of the hit being planned. But up to now, Govin has refused to take a plea deal and maintains his innocence, suggesting he's not interested in boosting the state's case. Amid all this, speculation about federal charges is growing. In October 2024, music manager Wack 100 went on Clubhouse and suggested that Yo Gotti could be hit with a federal RICO case, potentially linking CMG to a string of violent acts from Dolph's murder to the 2017 Charlotte shooting. Wack pointed to Cornelius Smith's testimony that CMG paid legal fees for the shooters as a potential sign of organized criminal activity, though his claim hasn't been backed by federal authorities. The RICO possibility isn't off the table if prosecutors can gather sufficient evidence showing CMG operated as more than just a label. A RICO charge would allow the feds to go after Yo Gotti as a leader of a criminal organization, even without proving he pulled a trigger. Instead, they'd need to show a pattern of racketeering, things like violence, intimidation, or obstruction of justice, which could include paying off lawyers, coordinating hits, or silencing witnesses. But again, there's a high burden of proof, and Smith's testimony alone isn't likely to cut it without corroboration through texts, emails, payments, or other forms of documentation. In the public eye though, the court of opinion is in session. On platforms like X, formerly Twitter, and YouTube, people are drawing parallels to the YSL case involving Young Thug, with many believing CMG could be next. Some even speculate that Yo Gotti played a role in both Dolph's death and his own brother Big Juke's, though these theories remain purely speculative and unsupported by evidence or law enforcement. Adding fuel to the fire is a viral video of Yo Gotti claiming that CMG was moving to Dallas, Texas. Many fans immediately saw that as an attempt to distance himself from Memphis, or worse, to avoid potential legal heat. The move hasn't been confirmed as legally motivated, but in the wake of so many rumors and developments, it's raised eyebrows. Big Juke's death, ironically, may have removed the one person who could have clarified CMG's internal dynamics and the alleged murder-for-hire plot. Without him, prosecutors are left hoping that Govin's trial or new evidence will fill in the gaps. Until then, Yo Gotti's fate hangs in legal limbo, uncharged, but not untouched by the shadows of this tragedy. Final assessment: will Yo Gotti be indicted? As of June 2025, Yo Gotti remains legally untouched in the murder case of Young Dolph. He hasn't been charged, subpoenaed, or publicly named as a suspect by any law enforcement agency. The prior incidents, like the 2017 Charlotte shooting and the Los Angeles hotel shooting, resulted in 0 charges against him, with the LAPD specifically clearing his name. That track record shows a pattern. Law enforcement has repeatedly failed to find enough hard evidence to tie him directly to violent acts stemming from the Dolph beef, but that doesn't mean he's completely out of the woods. Several live wires remain. Hernandez Govin's trial in July 2025. This could be a pivotal moment. If Govin flips and testifies, he could potentially confirm or debunk Big Juke's role in orchestrating the hit, and reveal whether Yo Gotti had any knowledge or involvement. Govin's testimony could either open the door for prosecutors or shut it for good. Federal RICO investigation, though no official announcement has been made. Persistent rumors of federal involvement, including speculation from Wack 100 and legal experts, indicate that CMG could be under broader scrutiny. If investigators build a RICO case, they'd need to prove that CMG acted as a criminal enterprise, and that Yo Gotti knowingly benefited from or directed its illegal operations. Right now, nothing concrete has surfaced to support that. Financial and communication evidence. Thus far, there's no paper trail, bank records, messages, or recordings linking Yo Gotti to the $100,000 bounty, or the alleged legal support for the shooters. Unless that changes, it's unlikely prosecutors would risk filing charges without more than co-defendant testimony. Public and political pressure. With the case's visibility and emotional weight in Memphis, not to mention growing public frustration about unsolved murders of high-profile black artists, prosecutors may face pressure to dig deeper. The idea that the man at the top of CMG could walk away clean while others catch life sentences continues to fuel speculation, distrust, and online outrage. Yo Gotti's silence. He's made no public comments on the murder, the trial, or the allegations, a smart legal move, but one that also leaves a vacuum filled by rumors. Meanwhile, he's been expanding CMG, signing artists like Zillionaire Doe in early 2025, and seemingly distancing himself from Memphis by moving operations to Dallas, Texas, a move many interpret as strategic. Bottom line, will Yo Gotti catch a case right now? Unlikely but not impossible. Unless Hernandez-Govan flips, federal investigators drop a RICO hammer, or new direct evidence emerges, Yo Gotti is legally insulated by distance, lack of evidence, and smart maneuvering. But this situation is fluid, and one key witness or leak could change everything. Would you like a summarized timeline of key events or a breakdown comparing this case to the YSL Young Thug RICO case? As the legal proceedings continue to unfold, the question of whether Yo Gotti will ever face charges remains unanswered. The case highlights the difficulty of prosecuting complex conspiracies in the entertainment world, where direct evidence is often scarce and key figures may be shielded by layers of business and personal relationships. It also underscores how rap beefs can spiral into real-life tragedies, leaving families shattered and the justice system struggling to piece together the truth. For now, Yo Gotti remains uncharged but under scrutiny, with the looming trial of Hernandez-Govan in July 2025 holding the potential to reveal more. Until then, fans, legal analysts, and the hip-hop world will be watching closely to see if the full story of Young Dolph's murder will ever truly come to light, and whether all those responsible will ultimately be held accountable.